What's up, guys? Today we are so excited to talk to Rebecca the Reseller and really get some insight and dig into her business. So Rebecca, thanks for jumping on here and joining us today.
Hey there, you're so energetic. I love it.
I know sometimes
Thanks
it's hard
for having
to
me. It's great. I love it. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to learn more about your reselling business. Everybody does business so different. So it's so fun to hear how many different ways you can run a reselling business.
Absolutely.
It really is so individual because it's such a lifestyle business. So it really is awesome because it can fit into your lifestyle.
Right. So go ahead and just let us know, how did you even get started? Give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so I had like a corporate job and we had our son in 2015, and the plan was for me to go back to work, but unfortunately we just didn't really kind of dig the daycare situation that we found ourselves in, and like we thought we were going to. We didn't. So we actually made the decision for me to be a stay-at-home mom, which was never the plan, but was interesting and cool. And when Gio was about 6 months old, I had, seen a parenting magazine or whatever, and it had an ad for an app called Tot Spot where you could sell your used baby clothes. And I was like, perfect, because he's 6 months now. So I have stuff that he's not going to fit in anymore, or some stuff he didn't even get to wear because, we're in Orlando, Florida, and people send us all kinds of wintry things. And it's like, no, we don't need those here. So I had a lot of things to sell that were baby clothes. I thought that would be perfect. And I went on and I, just took some photos and listed it. And a few things sold. And I was like, well, that's cool. And I said that I was going to take any money that I made from there and put it in his college fund. So that way, because most of this stuff were gifts. And that way it's like they gave twice, and that would go for his future. So that's what I do with pretty much any times I sell anything of his, it goes for his college fund. And when that happened, I started getting more and more into it because I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice. I could really put a little bit of money away for him. And I asked a woman on there, because with Tot Spot, it was very much like a little bit like Poshmark in that you had to share and stuff. So there were share groups and things. And I asked this woman, because I'm not shy, why do you have, how many kids do you have? Because she had hundreds of items in her closet of all, boys, girls, big kid, little kid, baby stuff. I was like, what? How many kids do you have? I just have the one, it's a little bit much. And she was like, oh, honey, no, I don't have all these kids. I have two. I buy clothes at the thrift store and I sell them for a profit. And I was like, what? I knew that there were thrift stores. I knew that, but I just never knew. That was the aha, everybody has that aha reselling moment when you figure out that reselling is a thing. And that was it. And I was like, what? So, I think that day I packed Gio up, 6 months old, and went to the Goodwill, had to look and find where there was one. It was 20 minutes away. Now we have two much closer, but took him and I found some Carters and some Baby Gap and stuff. And I listed them, same like his. And then I made profit on those. And I was like, oh my God. So I got the poster board from the dollar store. And every time he was napping, I took photos on the floor in the hallway. And it was okay, this was going to be a fun little thing that I can do to help keep my sanity as a used to be working mom, working person, and now a mom with this baby that, they don't really do anything when they're that little. So it was this wasn't the fun, leave it to beaver thing I thought it was going to be, because it's just this little baby and me all day and I'm kind of going a little nuts. So it was great for me. And that app is no longer around because they merged with Poshmark. And Poshmark merged everyone from Tot Spot over into Poshmark when they decided to expand from being a women's only platform to adding a men's market and adding a kids market. And so that's how I got involved in Poshmark. And so I said, well, now that I can sell women's clothes, I have, some career things that clearly the, new baby lady is not going to fit in anymore, the size 2 Michael Kors dress in the White House black market and whatever. Let me put it up. And my first listing is WHBM EUC skirt, and so cringe. And it sold for over $20 or whatever. And I was like, whoa. So I did the same exact thing, but I just made $20 instead of 3 on the Baby Gap. And that just knocked it out of the park. And it was like, okay, this is now a real thing. And so, for about 6 years now. I've just been doing it, but a little bit different, a little bit bigger scale now, looking for different items than Baby Gap. But yeah, that's how it all started. And thank God it did, because now I have, like a legit business, and he's in school now and he's in first grade, and, I'm doing 6 figures, and it all started from nothing. So I'm very proud of it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super excited.
Yeah.
So this is what you do. You don't, I mean, I know you share content and help other people too, but like that, this is what you do. So this is
what I do.
your gig.
I
That's awesome.
said, once I kind of realized that I could make a little, couple $100s a month and things like that. Like once it kind of became not just like, oh, what is this, to, okay, this is something. It wasn't a full business then, but it was, okay, this is something. What do I want to do with this? I kind of said, well, if I can replace my full-time income, my take-home income that I used to make at my job, if I can replace that by the time that Gio is done with kindergarten, because I knew, as a reselling mom, you shove your business into the pockets of time that your kids, and your husband, and life, and your dog, and the laundry allow you. And so I call everything in like reseller mom years. Like maybe I would have hit 6 figures in 2 years if I wasn't a reseller mom, but I am, and I wouldn't have become a reseller if I wasn't a mom. So I'm grateful for how it all played out. But I do think, my progress has taken longer than maybe it would have otherwise. So I said, if I can replace my full-time income being a reseller by the time Gio's done with kindergarten. And so that was the end of last year. And I think I was maybe $3,000 short, but I did it. And I said, you know what, I'm fine with that, because this is a flexible thing. And I know it's going to grow because now I know what I'm doing. And, that's like, I didn't have a boss. I didn't have to drive on the highway. I didn't have to pay tolls and do my dry cleaning, because I wear leggings every day. And so I was okay with that. I missed my goal of like $3,000 because I had gone from 0 to that far. So we can, get into all of that. But yes, so this is what I do. This is my full-time gig. And, my husband's job, we're lucky, he does well. And so he covers really the basics of everything. But this, as my job, as my salary, as my business, allows me to save for retirement. We're kind of like we'd love to retire early people. So I kind of like consume a lot of that fire content about retiring early. So I shovel as much as I possibly can into retirement with the money that I make. And then I pay for Gio's extras. I don't have to take money out of our family finances when I want to get a cup of coffee, like all that stuff.
For sure.
So it helps our family, but it does not cover the main bills. But I see that if I continue on the trajectory I am, it could be, it could do that if we needed it to.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah. So you're in 6 figures now with clothes. Do you have a team? Do you have people that are working with you? Kind of give us a breakdown of where you're at right now compared to where you started.
Yeah, I do have helpers. And honestly, I started really early having helpers because I was a reselling mom. And I will say to anybody, if, they don't have kids yet, or they have little kids like a baby, the hardest time that I thought, now that I've experienced 6 years of a child and reselling, it was 1.5 to 2.5, because they can walk around. Yeah, they're everywhere. They're into everything. The attention span is not there, and the listening and all that. So I think 1.5 to 2.5 was the hardest part. And that was when I chose to hire a photographer. So I just put out a Facebook post in a lot of the local moms groups. Hey, does anybody, need some part-time work? And so, at first she came to the house and did it. Then I started to trust her. And so she would take the clothes to her house, and we, invested in a setup for her to do it at her house. But so that wasn't the first hire, but I think that was the most important hire, because it was the most meaningful impact to my life, because she was able to do all those photos where Gio was like knocking down the lights and like touching the clothes, which I don't really like for him to do even now. So, that was a really impactful hire, was getting a photographer and having all of that kind of taken off of my plate. The other hire that I did in the beginning was I guess she was remote, but she was local. So we never met. Also went on Facebook and said, hey, I have this other, part-time gig. Can you help me? And it was to share my Poshmark closet. So I hired someone local but she worked remotely to share my Poshmark closet for me. And that worked great until I realized that she was a little unreliable and fairly expensive. And so then I went into the international virtual assistant realm, which for anyone getting started and thinking about adding to their team, an international VA is a great way to get your feet wet with it because it's inexpensive. And so it's an easy way for you to kind of add that repetitive expense into your monthly nut that you have to be paying attention to. Because when you invite a team in, now you're responsible for them and you've made a promise to them to give them work. So you need to have that work and you need to pay them. So I take it very seriously that I have now one virtual assistant who's been with me over 4 years in the Philippines. I have a local assistant who does, photographs, deals with the boxes, deals with the incoming shipping, deals with the outgoing shipping. So kind of like a warehouse type person. Yes. So I just have and then I have another virtual assistant in Ohio who does a lot of the financials and stuff for me. So I have 3.
That's a hard place sometimes for a lot of people to go. Like, that's great that you were able to do that so early because you're the bottleneck of your business. That once you get to a certain point, you can only do so much. You only have so much time. And if you can start to outsource some of these things, then you can grow so much faster. But it's hard to get there. It's hard.
It is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And now, sharing and outsourcing the sharing isn't necessarily something that needs to be done, but I think that's where I tell people to start is if you can get someone or something to share your Poshmark closet, because that's a huge thing that just really can weigh on you. You feel like you're chained and you feel like you don't have that freedom, or if you don't do this thing, you're not going to make money. And so that I think is a great place for people to start. And then I think a photographer, if you don't enjoy taking photos, that's one of those repetitive tasks that you can easily train to someone, the right person. And it doesn't involve a whole lot of stuff. Like you literally could have somebody show up at your house and take some photos. You can train them, they can take them, and it can go really easily. When you start having people do listings for you, which would be the next thing I would recommend, that's different because now that's going to require some skill. You're going to need to be checking a lot of it. Like the other 2 are pretty easy, I think.
Easier, yeah.
And then, when you have someone doing your listings and your shipping and all of that, then it takes a little more trust and a little more of you to be able to let go.
Right. And that is definitely hard. We have a couple of assistants that help us, and it's hard to let go of the things. I'm supposed to be doing this. I need to be doing this, but you can't grow, really grow if you are holding on to all those things.
Absolutely.
You really can't. And identifying those things that either you're not good at or are easily repetitive and you can delegate, or you don't like doing, is always the good place to start. But I also do that in my personal life, and that kind of eases the pressure a little bit. We have cleaners that come. That was my husband's push present to me, was to have cleaners come in the beginning so that I wouldn't have to worry about that. But truth be told, I've never been a good cleaner, especially not to his standards. He was former military, so he's crazy, if he had a white glove and would do like that, he would. So I've never, whatever, the toilet's clean, I wiped it, fine. So we have cleaners, and that's a huge help because that's a lot of time that, can be taken off of my plate. So we've kind of extended that. And so that's something that my money, my business money, even though it's our money, goes to pay for also, and because it directly makes my life so much better.
I do think it's interesting that you guys are on kind of the fire mindset, but then you're still able to hire out those things because that kind of fights yourself a little bit. If you're thinking I'm spending money when I could be saving it or putting it towards retirement. So you kind of fight yourself a little bit.
There's lots of ways and now that I've kind of consumed a lot of different kinds of fire content, there's a lot of different ways people go about it. I would not be able to get my husband on board if it was the super hardcore frugality, get rid of everything type of, we just wouldn't, it would not happen. We eat organic, we spend money, on organic food and grass-fed beef. We're not, it'll happen. It's probably about 10 years out. We've only recently started, but we're also trying to save a chunk of money because I don't want to live on $40,000 when I'm in retirement. I want to see the freaking world. Like we are going, like I'm going to all the states, I'm going to as many countries as I can. Like that is my like goal. And he wants to play as many golf courses as he can. So I don't know, maybe he'll do that. I'll go see my countries. We'll do separate retirement. I don't know. But I'm like, listen, whether you come or not, I'm going to these places.
See the world.
Yes. So it does, but it doesn't, because we wouldn't, that's not us. We wouldn't do that. I have total respect. I just watched or listened to something the other day about somebody, and they did it on like $25,000 a year, but they saved 90% of their, something crazy. And I'm like, no, no, it's not going to work like that for us. That's not how it goes. But I do think that a lot of people resell, as their side hustle so that they can put more money away. Or like for me as a stay-at-home mom I can't contribute to a 401k, but I can take all this money and shove it in my retirement accounts and in my investment accounts and have that still work for us. So,
awesome.
It doesn't matter what you do with your reselling money, as long as you do something with it and not just spend it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm curious on your numbers. How many items, I'm assuming this is mostly clothes that you're selling, correct?
All clothes. I
Cool.
have some bags, some shoes, but pretty much my operation is optimized for women's clothing.
Cool.
I don't want to I don't. Clients, no.
Yeah. Roughly
no
on a month, how many items are you shipping out? How many items are you moving in a month?
So that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I don't actually know. I don't know. I probably could look that up, but I keep track of the money more than I keep track of the number of sales or items.
Okay.
Yeah. Because for me, I don't know. That's just not something that I've chosen to pay attention to. I can obviously go back and look and figure out ASP and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I think I let a lot of those kinds of things go when the pandemic kind of creeped up, because I sent everything to ThreadUp. I only kept my boutique items that were multiple quantity in my Poshmark closet, and I homeschooled my son and for months, like many people out there. And so I think during that time, so much shifted, obviously personally and in the world, but in the business, that there's just a lot less things that I pay attention to now. Cool. And I'm always focused on top line revenue because I have a goal. I'm super ambitious and I have a goal that I'm trying to reach. So every month I'm like, where am I tracking toward that top line revenue goal? But then I'm also making sure, did I pay myself? Do I still have money in my bank accounts? Because I believe in having cash reserves. Did I pay everybody that I needed to pay? And as long as there's money in the bank, money with me, money with them, I'm okay. So awesome. I don't always pay attention to all of the nitty gritty. I do say as a general rule though, that for me, I kind of factor in, like if I list 10 today, for the most part on a regular day, I'm shipping out anywhere between 3 to 5 items. Okay. So if I list 5 items, it might be 2 that go out. If I list 10, now I just recently said I'm going to start listing 15 a day because I can. And so I am starting to try to see what can I expect with that. One would hope that it would still be that 30 to 50% sell through, but I don't know, because I will say right now, it's pretty tough. Like I'm having some trouble out there, like many people. So I don't know what that's going to be.
And you're mostly on Poshmark right now, right?
Poshmark's my main. It's always been my main. I have been on and off. I have a love-hate relationship with eBay. I've been on and off of Mercari, but I have found success in Mercari. So, I do think that that's a great platform. I recently got on Tradesy, and just this week had 2 sales this week on Tradesy, which, awesome. I always kind of figured it would be like if one pops in here and there, so we'll see. So I'm learning that platform. I was a big ThreadUp seller. That platform is extremely unpredictable. And so now I just kind of like send certain things to liquidate. I'm dabbling with the Real. So, I'm trying to figure out it right now in the stage I'm at. It's all about the nuances. So if I have this Bowden dress, where is the best place for me to sell this Bowden dress with the least amount of work, but the most amount of profit? but I do sell it on Poshmark and the sell it yourself platforms. That's not something I would send elsewhere. But if I get a designer item, then I'm thinking about, maybe I don't want to do that work because I don't know if it's going to sell. Like, sure, if it did sell, it might sell for a lot, but I don't always think that I sell designer things myself. I feel like they sell better on some of these other platforms. So I'm really kind of like playing in the nuances these days.
So what, for somebody wanting to get started on Poshmark, like what is something, I've only dabbled in it just like a tiny, and I had to share all this stuff and I was like, oh, I can't do all this, is a lot. And that was like probably 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
So like somebody, if they really want to try to get started on Poshmark, what is like a couple tips you would give them to get started and really try to see some momentum on it?
Yeah, I mean, it can be tough because I think probably the biggest question out there, like if you go in any Poshmark Facebook group, which I do just to kind of see what people are saying, is like, when am I going to start seeing daily sales, or when am I going to start seeing reliable sales? And it's different for everyone, because if you have the hottest, coolest, greatest thing, you're going to sell it, whether you have 100 items in your closet, whether you share it, whether you listed it recently. If you have the thing that everybody's looking for, it's going to sell. But most of us don't have our finger on that button and can't find those things regularly. So we try to find the best of what we can get and we put that up. And for different people, that means different things. But I think listing consistently, sharing 3 to 5 times a day, whether it's you or a service or a person other than you, and then sending offers to likers as you gather those likes. That's important because people want to be given a deal, and sometimes you need to say, hello, remember you like this item, well, here's the deal. You have to get it. You're the one trying to sell, right? So it's on you to get out there and influence the sale. So sending offers to likers, for the most part, those are, there's all kinds of things, but those would be the 3 main tactics, and then obviously having good photos. And
I would say offers too, like as a user, if I'm looking for a certain thing, a brand or whatever, I'll search and I'll look at different ones. And then if somebody sends me an offer while I'm looking at comparing different ones, I'm like, oh, okay, well, exactly, I'm gonna go with that one over the other one.
And that's the thing, I was just talking about this with the reseller friend yesterday, like the buying behavior is so different from so many people. So the way I want to sell may not be the way someone wants to or is comfortable with buying. And so you need to make people feel comfortable in sending you an offer. You need to send out an offer proactively, because they might be, the complete opposite of me, who's like super aggressive and in your face and is going to ask you for a deal. They don't want to insult you. It might be in the middle of the night and they're drunk shopping or insomnia shopping, or like, who knows? So, you want to have a bundle discount on, you want to send offers out, like you want to make everything available so that you have every chance to make that sale.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I wanted to kind of jump back into something because this totally intrigues me. So this is me personally, about you're doing clothes and you're making 6 figures. And I know you say you don't keep track of your sales, but on your goals, like financially, and if you're not comfortable, it's okay, you don't have to say it, but kind of like, where are your benchmarks? Where are you at with you? Remember, we don't do clothes, we don't do these smaller items. So I'm always intrigued when I see these other resellers that are doing different stuff than us, and I'm always interested. That's why I asked you about how many you're selling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what can somebody expect where you're at? And you've been doing it for years, but what can somebody expect, or kind of where are you at right now in your finances? Yeah, on average.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what somebody's doing. So after the pandemic, when I had to basically start over from scratch, I said, I'm not going to put those same items I used to sell in my closet, because I wasn't finding success. I wasn't making the money I wanted to make, and I was grinding it out. And I would get up at 4 in the morning and do 3 hours of work before anybody was awake in this house. And then I would do work later in the pockets of time. And I had people and I wasn't making the money I wanted to, because I was shopping at the bins, buying something for $1 and hoping that I was going to get to sell it for 10 or 15, thinking, hey, that's a profit. Profit is profit. I've said this, I look back at some of my prior YouTube videos. I'm like, profit is profit. And I'm like, oh my God, don't say that. Stop it. No, a good profit. That's what you want. So now I just said, no, like, so if I have to spend 5 or even spend 10, but I'm going to list it for 50 or more, that's kind of my benchmark. And so I'm building in based on my business processes and systems of, how I'm sending out offers. I kind of know what my minimum amount is that I'm willing to accept, but I'm also hoping that, just because I listed at 50, it could sell at 40, it could sell at 50, it could sell at 25, and that's probably my lowest. And so I can find, where my profit's going to land, and then I can just keep doing that. So as far as like the overall thing is, I don't really track the numbers per se, because I do sell a lot of different kinds of items, but my top line revenue goal for this year is 200,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's not just in reselling clothing though. So just to be perfectly clear, so far this year, I have sold $100,000 in clothing. So I've already hit that mark for this year, but I sell on Amazon by merch, or merch by Amazon. I just recently started Amazon KDP. I have my YouTube channel, although the YouTube channel itself does not make very much money. But I do that as a way to connect with people. And then I have my Etsy shop for digital downloads for resellers. I have my courses. I have other things that generate money. I sell to my local buy sell trade store. So I've got, I never counted them, but probably like 15 different streams of income if you literally counted every income source. I'm not actively doing every single one of them all the time, but when you buy in bulk online, like I do mostly with clothing, you have to find ways to optimize your profit. And sometimes it's not selling it yourself on Poshmark. Sometimes it's taking it to Style Encore. Sometimes it's sending it to ThreadUp or the Real or what have you. So for me, I'm trying to hit, I forget what the number was, it maybe 200,000 divided by 12. I think it was like 16,000 or something, but I started off the year a little slow, which I usually do. And then recently coming off the summer, it's been slower than even I was hoping. So we'll see if I actually hit the 200. Last year I was at 178. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to go to 200 for the year, but it's a little icky right now. Like I'm not loving it. So I'm trying to see.
That's cool. But you
answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. You have your goals that you're working towards and you're trying to meet those
relentlessly.
Goals. So that's
and already 100,000 you're in just the clothes is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What is possible. So.
Absolutely.
But like I said, it's not just in Poshmark. So, I it's all things. And so it's added up that in reselling clothing, that's done over 100. Because I know that people out there that consume content and see people like me who I get bored with reselling. I get bored with it. There's a lot of reseller tasks that I don't enjoy. That's why I hire them out. But even still, the ones that I do, I get bored. And so I could do more and maybe that would keep it interesting, but I also don't want to deal with all of that, either. So, having the YouTube channel, making courses, making digital downloads and tools for people, like teaching and sharing that has come out of the reselling is my favorite part now. Like, I love it. And people criticize that sometimes because they're like, well, you're trying to make money off of other resellers or you're just selling things, whatever. And yes, because I have to eat and I'd like to retire in 10 years. So yes, I do sell things, but I also still am walking the walk of the reseller. It's not like I stopped reselling so that I could sell you my course. I'm selling you the course because it worked over here in the reselling. So to me, I've never been I kind of really take it personally when people are kind of like anti all of that. But I do think that it's important for people when you're in reselling and you are selling, you're playing in somebody else's sandbox. You're on someone else's platform. ThreadUp decides to cut off labels. Poshmark decides to change the algorithm. Mercari, who knows what's over there and whatever other things. Like, that's a lot. Like, that will keep me up at night. That would give me agita. From New Jersey, we say like that gives me agita. And so having all kinds of things that are related in a revenue web, they're related income, but they're different things. And some stuff I'm more in control of and some stuff I've less in control of, but having all of it, I think makes the boat go.
Absolutely.
So we're big fans of, if we want to learn something, we're going to go jump into a course. We're going to go get coaching.
It's the shortcut.
Yeah, because it is. It's like, yes, there's free content out there. And if you can learn anything you really want to know, you could learn on YouTube, like really. Absolutely. But if you want somebody's roadmap to what they've done and the shortcut, like we've bought thousands of dollars of courses. We're always like coaching. We really believe in investing in ourselves. So but I commend you too, because you're still doing a grind. You're still building your team. You're doing it. That's the same thing that we do. And I said,
I always say I'll do this the rest of my life because I love it. I absolutely love the hunt for a deal, and I'll do it the rest of my life, but we also teach it as well. And it's one of those things that we're teaching what we have done through the last 20 some years, and we're giving you that roadmap, but we're still doing it because we absolutely love it so much. So, and I see that
you're
in
going to
you
be like
too.
90, like trying to find stuff. Like.
Well, and that, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that, you know, I want to retire early, but I'm always going to do something because I'm not going to just, you know, put my feet up, but I won't have to. And I think there's a difference between, you know, now I have people I have to pay. I have 2 storage units. Breaking news, I just signed for another storage unit yesterday and started moving stuff in today. So now I'm up to 2 units. And, you know, so it's like, there's a lot of sales that need to happen in order just to run the machine now. And that's a lot of pressure. But I like it. It's, you know, it keeps you going and stuff. But, you know, at the same time where it's like, you know what, I might get to a point where I'm just going to list a couple of things, and they're going to be some humdingers of things. And when they sell, they sell. And when they don't, they, you know, and it won't be so like, I got to do this and I got to do that and have all these goals and whatever. It would be nice to kind of like chill, relax a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just there. You can do it whenever.
That's it.
Whenever you want to, because retire. Yeah, you retire early, but you can't just sit around and do nothing.
No,
like that sounds boring.
Yes,
Rebecca, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for jumping on here and giving us some insight into your business. Like I said, I love seeing other people's business model when it's totally different than what we do, but it's really, really cool to learn and grow from each other. So
and she's really created systems like in her business, which
love
that's
systems.
huge, and that's I mean that is how you grow
absolutely
to the next level.
That's my favorite part. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
so
awesome.
cool.
And where can everybody find you?
I'm Rebecca the Reseller pretty much everywhere. So on Instagram, Rebecca the Reseller, on YouTube, Rebecca the Reseller, and then you can find all the various links there.
Yeah, awesome. We'll put those in the show notes too below.
You guys can click below.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for jumping on here.
Thank
It's been
you.
so
It was
much
great.
fun.
I appreciate it.